You Googled how much does a DUI lawyer cost, and you want a straight answer. Not a runaround, not a sales pitch. Fine, here it is. In Pennsylvania, most DUI cases run somewhere between $1,500 and $7,500 in attorney's fees. And that number moves based on how complicated your case is. I'll break down exactly what drives that number up, what drives it down, and what the fee actually needs to cover. I'm attorney Sean Quinlan, Pennsylvania DUI lawyer. Let's get into it. For a first offense DUI that's headed toward ARD or negotiated plea, flat fees often start around $1,500 to $3,500. That's the lower end. Simpler facts, more predictable path, less heavy lifting. Mid-range misdemeanor cases. Second offense, higher BAC, a refusal, a drug DUI, those tend to run between $3,500 and $6,000. Once your case is heavily contested, or looks like it might go to trial, you're often looking at a retainer plus hourly billing, and total fees can push well past $7,500. Think of it like car repair. Brake pads cost one thing, rebuilding the transmission costs another. Same car, completely different labor. So what drives the price up? A few things reliably push the price higher. A high BAC. Pennsylvania DUI law is tiered. The higher your BAC, the harsher the mandatory minimums, and the more work it takes to protect you. Drug DUI. Unlike a breath test number, drug impairment cases can involve lab reports, prescription issues, expert interpretation, and a lot more gray area. More complexity, more cost. Or refusal. If you refuse chemical testing, you've got a PennDOT implied consent issue running alongside your criminal case. Two problems usually cost more than one. An accident or injury. Add a crash to the facts and you've added medical records, police reconstruction reports, and a lot more exposure. Repeat offenses. A second or third DUI isn't just legally harder. The margin for error is smaller and the sentencing exposure is worse. Your lawyer has more to protect and more to navigate. CDL or professional license. If your job depends on driving, or if you're a nurse, teacher, or other licensed professional, your lawyer has to fight on two fronts. That matters for what the case takes. What ARD does to the price. Here's something that can work in your favor. If this is your first offense and you qualify for ARD, Pennsylvania's pretrial diversion program, your legal fee is often lower. ARD cases tend to involve less litigation, fewer contested hearings, and a more predictable path. That doesn't mean you don't need a lawyer. You still need someone making sure you're actually an ARD candidate, that you don't make paperwork mistakes, and that your license situation is handled correctly. But a case heading toward ARD is a different workload than one heading toward trial. That difference usually shows up in the fee. The costs nobody mentions. Here's where people get surprised. The attorney fee is only one slice of the bill. Depending on your charge and outcome, you're also looking at court costs, fines, alcohol, highway safety school, a CRN evaluation, and possibly treatment fees. ARD itself comes with program fees on top of your legal costs. Then there's PennDOT. License restoration fees, ignition interlock, installation plus monthly monitoring. If you're in central Pennsylvania, you lose your license, getting from Carlisle to Harrisburg for work, court, or anything else becomes a logistical problem that costs money every single day. And insurance. Premiums often spike after a DUI conviction and stay elevated for years. That's why the cheapest legal quote isn't always the cheapest outcome. Saving $1,000 up front doesn't feel like a win if it costs you more 3 years of elevated insurance and a license suspension that wrecks your commute. Is it worth it? Yes. In most Pennsylvania DUI cases, hiring a lawyer is worth the cost. A good DUI lawyer can help protect your license, improve your shot at ARD, challenge weak evidence, and keep you from making early mistakes that quietly damage your case. That value isn't abstract. It shows up on your record, your insurance bill, and your ability to keep your job. The first days after an arrest matter more than most people realize. Early review of the complaint, deadlines, breath and blood testing issues, and PennDOT consequences. Getting ahead of those things early can change the trajectory of your entire case. How to evaluate your quote. Don't shop by price alone. You're not buying a couch. When you get a fee quote, ask, is this flat fee or hourly? What court appearances are included? Is trial included or is that extra? What other costs could come up later? How does communication work? Is that part of the fee? In other words, are you going to be nickel and dime for text messages or phone calls? And watch for red flags, vague pricing, fuzzy scope, every future court date sounding like an add-on. A low number is only a bargain if the scope actually holds. Also, local experience matters. DUI practice isn't just about reading the statute. It's about knowing how things actually work in Cumberland County, Dauphin County, York County. Local familiarity with prosecutors, ARD practices, PennDOT issues can save time and money in very practical ways. So 1,500 to 7,500 is the honest range for most Pennsylvania DUI cases. What moves that number is how complicated your facts are, what's at stake for your license and career, and how hard the case needs to be fought. Before you hire anyone, get the fee in writing and get a clear picture of exactly what it covers. That one step saves you money, confusion, and a bad surprise in 3 months in. If you've been charged with a DUI in Pennsylvania and want to understand where your case falls, reach out. Free consultation, no pressure, links in the description. Subscribe for more straight talk on Pennsylvania DUI law. See you in the next video. Thanks so much.